And we're live.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Antler Queens are back. And this is, yes, I know. Let's hear it for the Antler Queens,
Yay.
right? We're coming off of our exciting fan panel, and we're very excited to announce that Emily is joining us as our third Antler Queens co-host.
Woo!
Yay!
I'm so happy.
Yes, we're so happy too. You know, we love all of your activity and the Facebook discussion groups and Reddit. You're just so knowledgeable about the show, and you're a great addition to the podcast. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. Well, today's topic, we're doing one of our bonus episodes, and we're going to do our first character deep dive. We are going to dive deep into Natalie, who I think is all of our favorite characters, or one of our favorite characters amongst us all, I should say.
She's my favorite, definitely.
Your favorite, yep. I waver between her and Misty, I think, but I mean, it's impossible not to love her. So, so we're gonna dive deep. We thought maybe we would open with some quotes by Natalie, some of her quintessential quotes that we love. Hello, Misty, you crazy fucking bitch. I think that's probably one of our favorites and most quintessential Natalie quotes when she meets up with Misty and puts the gun in her face. That says a lot about her character.
Can I say that quote has so much significance for me with the show, because
absolutely,
I swear to, like, the trailer looked great. I was like, holy crap, I gotta watch this show.
Yeah.
But that clip of her sitting there with the gun saying that, I was like, that's it. I can't wait for this show to come out.
Yeah. It like set up the whole tone of the show.
Yeah.
It's so Juliette Lewis. Like, it's just so her. She really just, brings herself into that role so much. And one of my favorite Nat quotes. And then, one of the quotes from closer to the beginning of the show is purpose, find a purpose. I used to think all the drugs, drinking, and sex, I used to think I did those things because of what happened out there. After they rescued us, I lost my purpose. And then she goes into, she's found it again. She's in rehab. She finds her purpose again. And, I think a big question for all of us is, what is that purpose, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's like one of the biggest questions that I have about the whole show is, what is her purpose? Like, is her purpose solely to find out who was behind these postcards? Like, is that why she shows up at Misty's house with a gun? Like, just because she wants to get to the bottom of that? Or is there more to it? Because at this point, Travis wasn't dead yet. So we know that it had nothing to do with him initially.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So much speculation there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then another Natalie quote. Oh, Kelly, did you have anything else to add on that one?
Oh, just before we forget and start really getting into things with Natalie, I just wanted to say happy belated birthday to Tawny Cypress.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Yes. And
we always like to celebrate the birthdays here. So
yes, absolutely. And, we'd like to actually thank her for giving us the gift of Thaisa. So, reverse birthday present there. So, thanks to Tawny for being so incredible.
Yes.
And then one more Natalie quote that kind of shapes her character. I don't know what you're scared of, Natty. You've already got blood on your hands. We're almost there. It's been waiting for us. And that's from Natalie's dad. Of course, we know that the what transpires between her and her dad's death is very big in shaping who she is. And I think that quote from her dad is, very telling about how she lives with that within herself.
I also found one thing really interesting about the end of that quote where he says, we're almost there. It's been waiting for us. If you remember, when Jackie had her like death dream right before she dies, she sees the hunter standing in the corner and he says, so glad that you're joining us. We've been waiting for you. So they both say that they've been waiting for something. And I don't feel like that was a coincidence. I feel like that was on purpose. Those two things have to be related in some way.
They do seem very intentional. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, now that we've got the key quotation portion out of the way here, we are going to dive into some of Emily's Natalie topics. So, Emily, why don't you go right ahead?
Okay. So I really view Natalie as like the resident chameleon of the show. And it's also really funny because in an interview that she gave with Vulture, she said that Natalie was actually pitched to her as a chameleon. And what I kind of mean by that is she adapts to her surroundings. If you notice, like, it's very, very obvious in like the clothing that she chooses to wear. Like when you see her in rehab, she's very much dressed for the part of somebody who wants to become a recovering addict. When she goes to meet Kevin for dinner in order to get information out of him about Travis, she dresses in a certain way. Same thing with when she goes to the NA meeting to meet up with Susie in New York City. She's very dressed for the part. And I think that's very intentional. And they chose the clothing for a reason. Now, I also think she may not be as manipulative as the other three, but she definitely has her moments where she has manipulated people to get what she wants out of them. For example, like I just said, she accepts Kevin's dinner invitation and meets up with him because she knows he works in law enforcement. And if anybody can help her find out anything about Travis, it would be him. And she's right, because he's able to get her the toxicology report. Like I just said, she dresses the part and attends a meeting in New York City with Susie. She frames it as, no one can understand me like you do, which pulls Susie in hook, line, and sinker. She agrees to meet and sit down with her. She makes her comfortable by telling her that she won't assault her again. And she eventually gets her to agree to help her look into Travis's bank account. I mean, she kind of blackmails her into doing it by saying, like, if you don't agree to this, I'm going to make a phone call to the bank and tell them what we were up to, how we used to sell our clients' information and get money out of it. So she knows that Natalie has something that she can use against her. So again, she gets what she wants. Another was with Misty. When Natalie goes to Misty at the end of episode 9, and she asks Misty if Misty will help her get rid of a body. She goes there, but she knows that Misty is upset with her. She knows that she's going to have to do something in order to get her to agree to help. And we all know that all Misty wants is to be accepted, and in particular by Natalie for some reason.
Yes.
So all Natalie had to do was show up and offer her a half-assed apology, and that was all it took. And she got Misty right back where she wanted her, and Misty agreed to help her again.
And it really was a half-assed apology, too. It was not like a real, genuine apology at all.
And Misty even says, like, you never apologize. Are you making fun of me?
Right.
So we know that that is not in Natalie's character to apologize for things. That's very clear. Another thing that I wanted to touch on about Natalie was, and I know that this is something that a lot of other people want to talk about too, is the tell Nat she was right note.
Oh my God, the note, right? And
probably the biggest question.
Right. Yeah. And is the she referring to Nat, which is a whole nother like rabbit hole in itself, because it could be referring to somebody else. I went down some Reddit rabbit holes on the note this week. So
I never thought anything other than it being her until I saw on Reddit that somebody said, what if he's not even saying it was Natalie that was right? What if he's saying it was someone else?
Yeah.
And that just like
yeah, I mean, it opens up some doors for sure. But that note is very interesting that's the last thing that Travis probably wrote, and it has Nat's name on it. So
yeah. Now, if it was Natalie that he was referring to, I have a couple guesses as to what I think he meant by the note. Number one, I think it's possible that he lied to Natalie about it being him to protect her in some way. So like tell Natalie that she was right, that it was Travis, that it was me. Gotcha. And I'm thinking maybe it's possible that Lottie and her cult had already found Travis by this point, and he thought maybe by lying to her that he would protect her and keep them from finding her as well.
So sweet, by the way, if that's the reason.
That's what Travis. I was thinking too, that like, I can't figure out, I mean, unless something really crazy happened between them, that's my biggest guess, that he was just trying to, he recognized her voice and he was trying to protect her, because they clearly had kept in touch to some extent.
Yeah. And it's interesting that they did keep in touch. And then, in this last alleged interaction, I mean, you know, like, why is he all of a sudden gonna say it's not him? It's weird. And when did he go and change his identity? Like, at what part after the rescue did he change his identity? So many questions.
And what made him change his identity too?
It's got to be the cult, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
The second possibility that I thought was maybe Natalie was right about Lottie still being alive. Like, I'm under the assumption that the only reason why they didn't say that it was Lottie behind these postcards is because they don't think that Lottie's alive anymore. Because if Lottie was alive and they knew that, she would be the most logical guess as to who sent those. So it could be possible that they thought that Lottie was dead when they left the woods, but in fact, she's still alive. And I've seen a lot of speculation that people think that Natalie might end up killing Lottie, or so she thinks, that she kills Lottie in order to save the rest of the group from her. And a big theory that I've seen on Reddit is that the way that she saves them is that she ends up burning down the cabin with Lottie still inside. And that fire from the cabin alerts someone, and that leads to their eventual rescue as well.
Yeah, right? That's a very good theory.
Yeah.
Although I feel like if that happened, like, wouldn't, you know, rescuers go there and like look at the stuff that's happening and be like, wait a minute, this seems a little sus, right? Like, you know, why is there a setup where we're, you know, stringing up bodies, or, you know, like, would they look in the cabin to see if there were remains? I mean, how thorough of an investigation did they do? Or maybe not. Maybe they looked at it as a simple rescue and, you know, just believe what the girl said. So
yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's very possible that happens. Lottie's not in the cabin. I have a theory, because when Taissa and Shauna are sitting in the diner, Shauna asks Taissa, there's been no sign of the others.
Yeah.
And Taissa says not for months. I think she says not for months, right?
Yeah.
Pretty clear. So I'm wondering who the others are. I think it could be maybe, I mean, somebody's got to die, right? But so I'm thinking maybe the others could be like Mari and Akilah. And because we, you know, you got to figure somebody else has got to be on like Lottie's team. And
Van.
Van. So Van and Lottie could have been like left in the woods.
Yeah.
And after they were rescued, you know, there could have been some investigation as to what was going on. And so that's when they went back and they found Lottie and Van. So that's a good possibility. Where Hobby fits into that, who knows?
Yep. And, you know, really quick, the leaked Vimeo auditions from season 2.
I saw that.
I've not had a chance to watch those yet.
So the video links look like they were taken down, but essentially, you know, the lines that were read were between, you know, Lottie and Nat, which was, you know, really interesting. So that's like a whole nother conversation. But anyway, it does lead us, you know, to believe that obviously we know Lottie's alive. Yeah. Shannon Sossaman, Sophie Thatcher followed Shannon Sossaman the other day. Another indicator that she is probably going to be our Lottie Matthews.
That's awesome.
We're totally right. Just
but
I digress.
So perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, she looks.
I have one more possibility that I think that the note could have been referring to. Tell Natalie that she was right about Javi still being alive. Mm-hmm. That only works though if he's never seen again after Doom coming. Like, I'm assuming, because how else would it make sense? And maybe he aligned himself with Lottie, and now as an adult, he is a part of her cult. And that's why nobody knew that he was still around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was also, you know, a lot younger and you know, therefore a bit more impressionable. And in a situation where he had to survive somehow. He had to, you know, do what he needed to do to survive. So I think anybody like of that age in that situation could be manipulated into like
anything, really,
into following anybody.
Yep. I'm dying to know about Javi though. Seriously. Like, I mean, it makes so much sense in terms of like the emptying the bank account situation, but you know,
I'm holding on to that theory. I'm holding on to that theory that Javi is the reason why Travis's bank account got emptied.
Yes.
Although it was very fast and to the point of
Yeah.
someone, maybe you in the Facebook group, like, don't you need a death certificate for that? That seems
You do,
like,
yeah. I like, out of curiosity, I looked up like what it takes to close out a bank account after someone dies, and it's not easy, like at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no way that there would have been a death certificate when he was only dead for not even a day. So
no chance.
Yeah.
Unless Javi was on his account and he knew
That's what I
Javi was
thinking.
alive. But if he knew Javi was alive, I think he would have communicated that, you know, before. Unless the note is the communication and he did just find out. I don't know.
But like if they all were under the assumption that he was still alive, then why didn't any of the adult women bring him up when they found out that Travis died as well? That was so weird to me.
That, Javi's got to be devastated, or Javi, anything about Javi, right?
There was no mention of him whatsoever.
So he probably was with Lottie, and they just don't know. They don't know where Lottie or Javi is. They never saw him again.
God, maybe they're in the mine.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, that's another one I've seen going around Reddit a lot.
Yeah.
And you know, I mentioned this to you guys the other day, but I have a whole theory about Javi and Adam, but I'm going to not talk about that right now because that's
okay.
Doesn't have too much to do with Natalie. We'll save that for another episode.
Yes. I mean, gosh, you guys, we could talk Yellowjackets like all day and all night for hours. I mean,
yeah.
Wow. We should just do like a marathon, like free flowing like thing one day where we just go for it. I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. And no, my theory is not that Adam was Javi. Just putting that out there in case anybody listening or watching.
Adam and Javi are not the same person.
I also have a theory about surrounding Natalie being kidnapped as well. So I think it's safe to assume that Lottie and her so-called wellness group like kidnapped Nat at the end. We see them wearing those necklaces with the symbol on them. And the only one that's paid any attention to that symbol in the teen timeline is Lottie. Like none of the other girls have really mentioned it. The only time they bring it up is during the seance when Jackie says, let's put the candles down on the symbols. Lottie touches it on the tree. Like she notices it. And I think it means something to her. Like what that means, we don't know yet. But I think it's possible that Lottie has people that have infiltrated the four main women's lives in everyday life in order to keep tabs on them. And the reason why I say this is because one of the kidnappers that kidnaps Natalie looks exactly like one of the women that works in the nursing home with Misty. Like I've done screenshot comparisons like of their faces and they look so similar. Like I would swear it could be the same person.
What?
Yeah. So
this is the first time I'm hearing this. Really? So yes, I did not hear this before. Wow, guys.
I'm thinking that
Facebook more.
I know. I mean, I go down rabbit holes, but this is one I must have just missed.
I don't know how she would have infiltrated the others' lives, but there was somebody that was in rehab with Natalie that also kind of looked like one of the kidnappers too. So yeah, that's just the theory that I sort of came up with after like analyzing their faces.
Now, have we looked at Thaisa's campaign team in that regard yet?
I thought that someone in her campaign looked similar to one of the kidnappers as well, but it's not as close of a comparison as the one that looks like the woman from the nursing home that works with Misty.
Right.
But they look identical. It's crazy.
Interesting. And we don't have a lot of context about Shauna in terms of other people in her life.
I'm sorry, not the blackmail. I still think the lone people are connected somehow.
The lone people, that would make sense because, you know, we don't see like Shauna's parents ever or sibling, like I don't think she has a sibling, but like we don't know anything about her. We don't see any people from her life do some of the others, like, you know, Misty and Ty. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Boy. So many things. You know, it's Natalie, we love you.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, and I know we're talking about Natalie, so I'm trying not to get off topic here, but yeah, I mean, like with Shauna and Jeff, you know, it's Jeff made mention that this furniturefam.com was driving him out of business. That's something that would be very obvious. Like anybody that even knows them remotely would be like, oh, this might be causing some problems for Jeff.
Yeah.
For Jeff and his business. And, that could have put them in a position to offer him some assistance,
Yeah.
Right. So, and, it's interesting because Nat says like, oh, is your husband, when her and Shauna first see each other, she says, oh, is your husband still hawking futons?
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, what kind of contact have Nat and Shauna had, right? Like, did Nat go to her wedding? Like, we assume maybe Ty did based on their conversation. But like, how does Nat know he's selling futons? When was the last time Nat and Shauna were in touch? Like, I feel like there's a lot of questions there as well. But the futon comment is interesting in relation to the furniture fan people. Maybe there's a connection. I don't think that, Nat's involved with that, but I don't know. Just another thing. How does she know about the futons? I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that conversation between Natalie and Shauna was very telling too, because that was the first time that we see Natalie and Shauna interacting as adults in the show. And you can tell there's so much underlying tension between them. And I feel like it's for a reason that we haven't seen yet. I can't see Natalie holding a grudge this long because of what happened at Doomcoming, like with Shauna holding the knife up to Travis's neck. I can't see that being the sole reason why there's this tension between them, because like Taissa even says, like, we're not doing this, like, we're in a situation and we're going to figure it out together. Like, she kind of brings them back together.
Yeah,
definitely.
Oh, there's a lot to unpack with all of these Nat interactions.
And when they're in the van, when they're in Taissa's truck, like Shauna gets kind of snippy with her. She's like, don't drag us into your endless pit of guilt or whatever. And but she also softens up towards her, and she was like, when she was talking about Kevin, she was like, oh, that's really nice,
Yeah.
So it can't be anything too terrible, but there has to be a reason that there's so much tension.
Yeah, not to the extent of like Nat and Misty tension, obviously. She doesn't show up with a gun in Shauna's face, but definitely something.
Yeah.
TBD.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, Kelly, do you want to start with your conversation about some of Nat's trauma and how that's impacted her as a character?
Yeah. Well, should we bring up this this clip from the interview?
Yes, let's start right there. Yep.
Okay. So this was in an interview with AV Club, and it was on the headline of the article says, "Cannibalism aside, the stars of Yellowjackets say their characters had some limits," and they're talking about what they were comfortable doing and not doing. And what Juliette Lewis said, I thought was super interesting in regards to like everything that drives Natalie. Lewis also says she set boundaries around her character Natalie's sexuality, both as a teenager and as an older, more hardened soul. They had written a sex scene, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know that she even gets off. I don't know that she can even have orgasms, Lewis says.
Wow.
That's how deep I went. At the end of the day, I just didn't even think she fucks. Sorry to be so graphic at this juncture that you saw in season 1. I think she might have had relationships with all of them in the wilderness. I don't know if they're going to write it, but that's what I'd like to think of Natalie.
Wow.
I think that says a lot. I think that's very smart on Juliette Lewis's part, just because she did have so much trauma as a young girl.
Yeah.
Sex is probably something that you don't have to be sexually abused in order to have issues with sex because of trauma.
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be, she had a horrible relationship with her father, who was the main man in her life. Obviously he was abusive.
Yeah. And
the one thing that I think really drives Natalie, and this goes back to her purpose too, is he was, when we saw the scene where he was where her father came in and was abusing her mother, he he clearly has beaten up Natalie before, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure he didn't just scream at her all the time. And she didn't really seem to be too defensive. She didn't really seem like she was eager to protect herself. Obviously it's a parent, she's a young girl. So it's like, I'm sure any child would be afraid to stand up to their parent.
Yeah.
But as soon as like it got to the point where, holy shit, he could kill her mother, that's when she grabbed the gun.
Yeah.
She was, which was so incredibly brave.
Oof,
and
so brave.
She was willing to do that. And she pulled the trigger.
Yeah. That has to cause trauma, that alone. She actually tried to shoot him. So that has to be so traumatic.
And then not pulling the trigger at the end of the season, like there's a lot of triggering going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and she was willing to do that for her, to protect her mother, who probably wasn't a very good mother either. I mean, just from the little bit that we saw of, of when Natalie goes back as an adult to the trailer. But I think that she is more willing to, I think her purpose involves a lot of just doing for others what she couldn't do for herself.
Yeah.
And that's very common in a lot of people with trauma, especially early childhood trauma, because in a way, you're trying to save your younger self. You're trying to make up for things that you struggled with in the past that you wish you could redo. You want to save your childhood self and not put your childhood self through all that stuff. So you're going to be very protective of other people, and willing to do things for them that you might not be willing to do for yourself.
Yeah.
And another thing that I think kind of plays into that is when they are gun training. And Natalie is, she's kind of a natural already. I mean, her father probably, taught her a little bit about how to shoot.
But not how to turn the safety off.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And, but, we know that he had her try to shoot a turkey. But she was still struggling with it. And her father was in her head the whole time. And it was when she was thinking about him and thinking about his death that she was able to nail that first shot.
I never picked up on that.
Yeah.
Like she was channeling that trauma in some way, in a positive way almost, because, shooting in the wilderness is a positive situation. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she, she killed the deer that ended up feeding them. I think that was kind of a sense of accomplishment for her. Not just that she was helping to feed everybody and provide for everyone, but also it kind of like in a way was also making up for what she couldn't do for herself before. Her father shot himself by accident, but maybe she actually has some guilt about that she didn't do it.
I think she has guilt for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think she could have some guilt about not doing it herself. Not just, I think that she does have guilt that she contributed to his death, but I also think that if he was going to die that way, I think part of her wished that she had something to do with it. Because she may feel like she screwed up somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, as messed up as that sounds, and I'm sure she does blame herself for her father's death, but I think that she can feel both things at the same time. She also she seems very, like, she has this icy exterior. When they run into Kevin at the bar, she's horrible to him. I mean, this was her best friend. And he comes up and she's like, her whole attitude is, what the fuck do you want? It's like he's bothering her, she just
which
wants...
is so sad because he is so sweet and nice. Like, he's the sweetest. Kevin,
I felt so bad.
Oh,
felt so bad.
Yeah, if I was a Yellow Jacket, I would totally marry Kevin Tan.
Yeah, he's so cute.
Same.
I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, she was just so mean to him, and I think a lot of that has to do because we've seen that she has a heart, and she you know, she takes a lot of things on, and she really does care deep down, but she's probably the softest of the group.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the iciness and like the meanness that she showed towards Kevin and others is I think she feels in a way like she's radioactive.
I agree.
Yeah. And
like, she's just going to harm the situation no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So she pushes everybody away to protect them from becoming involved in that like ball of chaos that is her life.
Self-sabotage.
Yeah.
And you know, and she says in rehab that she's found this purpose, and she was meditating and thinking about like all the stuff that happened in the woods, and thinking about Misty. And then she goes back home, and you know, she's sitting there in Misty's house with the shotgun, points it at her, and you know, is ready to fuck things up royally for Misty. And then Misty somehow ropes her in, like takes her, like talks her off the ledge, and they end up spending the entire season together.
I loved it.
Yep. Yeah. Road tripping. I mean, everything. Granted, that was a little bit of a fixed situation, but still.
Yeah.
And I think that might have really affected her somehow. Like, she seemed very cocky. Both when she was in rehab, she seemed very sure of herself. And of course, when she was in Misty's house, she seemed very sure of herself. But I think Misty pulling her away from that, I think may have just kind of made her feel a little unmoored, and like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing with myself now. And, you know, her purpose kind of went out the window, because I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that she clearly was thriving in the woods.
Yeah.
She, like, I don't know. And of course, I always end up bringing this up every episode. But Emily, do you watch The Walking Dead?
I've watched like a couple seasons, but not the whole show.
Okay. Melanie, I know you used to watch it. So, you know, Daryl Dixon, for example, and Carol, they're two characters whose lives actually improved after the world ended.
Yeah.
Their lives were horrible before. I think Natalie is very similar to that, in that she stopped drinking when they were in the woods, and she was providing for them. She was helping them eat. She was this really important person to the group.
Their moral compass. I mean, that is a big job.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she didn't have her father telling her she was useless anymore. She didn't have her teammates, you know, telling her, get your shit together. Like, you smell like a wino, you know?
Yep. She was empowered. The wilderness actually empowered her, you know, above and beyond, you know, where her traumas and stuff are. So it is interesting to think that situation would be positive for somebody, but.
Right. Yeah. You know, and when Misty kind of ropes her in, and it's kind of like in the driver's seat, and it's sort of manipulating every situation that they're in. I think that's really when I think Natalie loses her purpose again. She doesn't really have any control over anything. And I think she realizes that she shouldn't trust Misty. She tries several times to get rid of her, but yet she still, like, you know, she still asks her to help them get rid of Adam's body. And there's two other times that are really important. And basically where I'm going with this is Natalie is, Emily, you mentioned that, you know, she can be manipulative, which she absolutely can.
Yeah.
But she also seems to be, out of all of them, the most easily manipulated. She, when she was in the bathroom with Shauna and they were chopping him up, she was still on this, this guy clearly knows something. He knew something about Travis, obviously. Yeah. And Shauna just like you just saw her face just change so dramatically when Shauna was basically convincing her. She convinced her so easily that Travis probably did kill himself. And I don't think Shauna was trying to manipulate her. I think she was being honest with her. I think Shauna does think that Travis killed himself. But she just she was on this kick the whole time. Like she needed to find out what happened to Travis.
Yeah.
And Shauna just changed all of that for her. And I think that's ultimately what led to her trying to kill herself at the end.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's, not that I want to blame Shauna for driving Nat to suicide,
but I mean, if the shoe fits.
Yeah. I think when they were at the reunion that Natalie had already made this decision that she was going to kill herself. Before it happened, because she toasts to them and she says to old friends. And not only that, the scene where she's looking at the trophy case, it always makes me so sad because of her interaction with Kevin. He says, I hope you find what you're looking for. And her eyes, she just looks so devastated. It makes me tear up because she just looks so broken in that moment.
The life is just drained out of her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily that I keep wanting to call him Kevin. It's not necessarily that, that something terrible happened to Travis, but just that she always trusted him.
Yeah.
And she always believed him. And when she was convinced that he killed himself, I think part of her just felt like, well, this was the only thing that I've ever believed in, really. And that's gone. And I just have nothing anymore. I don't believe in myself. I don't have anything I believe in. I don't have any ties to anything. And I tried to kill myself. And this is how Travis talked me down. And now that means nothing. And, I do think she's easily manipulated. And I think a big part of that is when you experience trauma, again, especially early childhood trauma, you learn to not trust yourself. So you could be this person with a larger than life personality that, seems super tough and can stand up to people. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how aggressive you are, with going after what you want or what you need, you still don't trust yourself. And you are so easily broken by the thought that somebody thinks you're useless because you believe them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what drives Natalie. And I think she's struggling to hang on because she wants to find a purpose and she's looking for it. In as many places as she can find it. And once she lost that, I think that was the end for her.
Yeah.
And when she was kidnapped at the end, obviously they were clearly watching her. Yeah. And they didn't want her killing herself for whatever reason. I'm very curious to find out what that is. Mm-hmm. But they found her in a really unfortunate spot. And I'm interested to see what happens in season 2, because I think she could be easily manipulated by the cult.
Yeah.
Her mental state is definitely, not going to be great. And it's interesting too with the cult bursting in at that moment, rescuing her. Were they trying to save her?
Yeah.
I mean, if they were watching her that closely, did they know what was happening and they tried to save her, or was just the timing that exceptional that they just happened to stumble in right before the trigger went off?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's some element of, or, maybe they need her for something. I don't know what that something is, but
yeah,
I don't know.
And, I also keep going back to Thaisa, and her relationship with Natalie. And and the fact that she keeps paying for her rehab.
Yeah.
And could have been responsible for planting the person in rehab, you know, if that is a cult involvement. I mean, that's the only connection to rehab and Natalie is Taissa.
Yes, exactly. And I think that Taissa clearly has a vested interest in Natalie not dying.
Yeah.
So I really, there's so many things that lead me to, and I will try not to get too much onto Taissa here, but I do think that there's just that she's connected to the cult somehow. And that for whatever reason, she is super protective over, you know, Natalie not taking her life or not overdosing and killing herself or whatever. Yeah. I think could have a lot to do with the cult. But, you know, Misty also, you know, was watching her and stopped her from doing all that coke.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that people keep like busting in and pulling her off the ledge, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. She's the new Van, right? She's got like 9 lives in the adult timeline.
Yeah. So that's a big question on my mind is why is everybody jumping in to save Natalie? And how does that have to do with, how does that relate to her value in the woods, which was obviously very high?
And they're jumping in to save her, but like no big if Travis dies. You know, like what's the difference between her and Travis in terms of their usefulness to the cult, and why is it okay for them to kill Travis and, you know, not Natalie?
Unless they kidnap Natalie to kill her.
That is true. That is very true. But it would have been so easy to just like stage the suicide at that point too, right? Like the gun's there. She's already going to kill herself. So it just seems like, why are they going to go through all that trouble just to kill her? Unless they need to like cover it up and bury her body out in the cabin. What if they bring her to the cabin? Is another thing I've seen floating around. Like, what if we start season 2 and Nat wakes up in the fucking cabin, guys?
I've seen that theory. That would be crazy.
Yes. Oh my God.
A lot of people think that like they're going to bring it full circle by bringing the adult women back out into the wilderness and bringing them back to the cabin for some reason.
Like how Adam was trying to get Shauna to go to the cabin in the Poconos. Hello.
That will always be suspect. Mine is
blowing up here.
Oh my God. Like, I'm sweating over this right now, guys. Like,
I know the creators have said that Adam was just a guy, but I don't care. You can't tell me that was not significant for some reason. Like, why would you ask a woman that was stranded for almost 2 years in the wilderness if she wants to go spend a weekend in the woods?
Right.
Like, that makes no sense.
Zero.
Oh my God. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. That was really
You are so welcome anytime.
I'm absolutely convinced now that they're going to end up back in the cabin in season 2. Oh my God, I can't wait.
That would be crazy.
Oh my God.
You know, I do think though that Travis's death was a result of Natalie coming back to New Jersey.
Oh, I could see that.
She
her coming back
didn't. Like I said, I'm still convinced Taissa is connected to all of this somehow. Yeah. Taissa didn't want to bail them out of jail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Misty could have called the cops so that they could be arrested.
Yep.
And they, Taissa made the comment that they were terrible for each other.
Mm-hmm.
She said they were the absolute worst for each other. Yeah. And I mean, it's just very coincidental that Natalie comes back to New Jersey after, not being there for a long time and calls Travis, and then he ends up dead.
Yeah. Kind of set off a chain of events in a way.
I think they don't want Natalie and Travis getting together somehow for some reason.
Why though? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Maybe the cult wants Natalie for something.
Yeah.
And if Travis was involved, he would pull her away from that.
Or maybe it's another sacrifice. I mean, it could just be, like you said, Emily, they're going to kill her and sacrifice her. Maybe they need to sacrifice somebody from the past for a victory in the present. Taissa for president. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Man. I would like to know what happened to her other friend that we saw in the pilot.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, Truffle Shuffle.
I thought maybe it was possible that was who she got her drugs from.
Oh, yeah. That's
Maybe.
That's interesting.
They don't ever really, they show her like getting them from the guy, but it's only like a quick scene. But like they show in the text message and she says, I'm someone's friend, and it's not Kevin's name. So I kind of assumed it was that guy.
Yeah, Victor, I think.
Yeah.
Good memory.
Yeah. It's ADHD.
It's your superpower.
Yes. I will remember what everybody's wearing today for the next 5 years.
Oh, speaking of what we're wearing. Oh, well,
nice.
Oh, that's so
is that an Antler Queen's podcast tank top? It sure looks like it, girls. Why don't we drop our merch link here while we're on the topic? If you are watching, you can see my awesome Antler Queen's tank top. If you're listening, you can visit antlerqueenspodcast.com and check out some of our awesome Antler Queens merch. We've got all kinds of designs, and we've got some new exclusive merch coming, which will be included in our Patreon. So we're very excited for that. But in the meantime, antlerqueenspodcast.com. Make sure you're repping Yellowjackets before season 2 begins.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I don't really have a lot more to say about Natalie's trauma. I do want to say that I love her clothing.
Same.
She wore a pair of pants that they looked exactly like a pair of pants that I owned at one point.
Which ones?
Ordered them. The leopard print ones when she
I had a feeling that's what you're gonna say.
Yeah. Yeah. I had
the
same pants, same color and everything. Exactly the same.
I love that.
And
the shorts and fishnets and stuff too, right? Like I love that look.
I used to wear shorts and fishnets. Like
you were so trendy. Never have worn those things together. And I read somewhere that the face mask thing was her idea. Like she really does dive deeply into the character and thought, you know what? I should be wearing a face mask during this scene in the hotel room. So I love that she contributes these little details that just add so much, to her character, to the scenes, to the show. She's one of the best out there. And Sophie Thatcher as well. I mean, we'd be remiss not to mention how incredible the casting was here in terms of, capturing the mannerisms of both of them. And I think the casting is exceptional. But yes, Natalie's wardrobe is also like on point.
That dress that she wore to the reunion. Oh my God.
Yep.
I
read that she said that dress was inspired by Blondie.
Yes. It totally looks like something that Debbie Harry would have worn.
God, the wardrobe team on Yellowjackets, like shout out. Let's give a quick round of applause to the wardrobe team on Yellowjackets. Way to go. Buzz, buzz, buzz.
She also wore a Pixie shirt. I love the Pixies. And she said that the whole mask thing was inspired by Mommy Dearest.
Oh, yes.
I actually dressed up like Mommy Dearest version of Joan Crawford with the mask, with the cold cream mask and everything. So Juliette Lewis is my spirit animal.
Oh my God, she totally is. Wow.
Yeah, you guys have the same pants and everything.
Yes. or Natalie is my spirit animal.
Right.
That scene with the face mask, I think, is my absolute favorite scene that adult Natalie has the whole season. Like she performed the hell out of that scene.
Oh, I know.
Loved it. Loved the wording that she chose. Like, do you believe in love?
And that was ad-libbed. That was ad-libbed. Like
that was so great.
Incredible.
Yeah.
She's just amazing. I love her.
Same. We love you, Nat. Okay, Kelly, any other topics on Natalie?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, we will move on. I've got a couple of Natalie points, and a big focus for me is Natalie and her relationships, not only with other people, but also with herself. It's interesting. I referred to an interview in Awards Daily with Juliette Lewis, and from the start, she was originally going to be on her way to rehab, but once they took the year off, they actually decided she was coming home from rehab, which I think is interesting because it kind of changes the framework of the story. But, just in terms of her character, Juliette Lewis says, I think she's riddled with addictive impulses, probably shopping sprees where she blows all the money. I feel like the worst of her is coming to at home. And then you add a death, one of the most profound, meaningful relationships, and we're off. So, the death of her teammates, the death of her father, the death of whoever dies out there. I mean, that's a lot. And then, what happens between her and Travis in the woods. Juliette Lewis also talks about how for her, early sexuality and early shared experiences bond you on a cellular and molecular level and is so emotional. And we're sort of guessing, what's gone on in the last decade between Travis and Nat. But one thing that Juliette Lewis thought is that they kept coming back together. And of course, we know that they've kept in touch. We don't know the extent of how, they do keep coming together. But, I think those relationships just play, heavily into who she is, and culminating at the end of the season in the relationship with herself, which is obviously suffering. She's trying to kill herself. And then one other interesting point that Juliette Lewis brought up was that out of the 4 main characters, younger and older, she feels there's the most distinct separation between young Nat and old Nat. There's something wholesome that breaks away, and, she completely breaks down. And I mean, I agree with that too. We've talked a lot about, she was thriving out in the wilderness and she comes home and, she did lose her purpose. She was no longer, providing. She was no longer the moral compass. And she is, broken and vulnerable in the future. So I think that's really astute, again, of Juliette Lewis, just to dive so deeply into her own characters for a better understanding of, who they are at the core and what she can do to really, bring that out. And we've talked about her relationships here in this episode, with her abusive dad, with her mom, very strained family relationship, and her friends. There's Kevin Tan, and think about the difference in her relationship with Kevin, before the crash and then after. Like, you cannot go in a completely opposite direction of a relationship more so than, her Kevin Tan friendship. And, another interesting relationship is her relationship with soccer. It's interesting being that she is kind of like, a drinker, stoner, whatever in high school, but she still plays a sport, which I think is commendable. She could have, gone the other direction, but instead she uses soccer, in her relationship with the sport and the team as a very positive coping mechanism. Like, soccer, I think, is very important to her, and that relationship with soccer. And we see that again when Kevin Tan brings her to, his son's soccer game. And you can just see like the light in her eye and, the input she gives to help him get a goal. And just that, that soccer piece is so important for her. And I think like if she didn't have soccer or the team, like she'd be lost, who knows what type of dark places she could have gone to as a teen, which she ends up as an adult. But so anyway, I do think it's interesting, everything changes with the relationships between the teen and the adult timeline. And then, the relationship with the adult Yellowjackets, we talked about that, like, her and Shauna, what's going on there? What's their relationship like now? We know in the wilderness, obviously there was tension because Shauna, almost killed Travis. And, to your point, Kelly, like, would she have held that against her, for that long? Did something else happen? Like, I don't know, but you can definitely see the strain between her and Shauna. And then her and Misty, like their relationship is also very interesting. We've talked about throughout this episode. And then
it's one of my favorites.
Absolutely. But, again, it all circles back to her relationship with herself and where that ends up at the end of the season. She feels like she can't live with herself anymore. Travis and her had this deal to look out for each other. And then, now she thinks Travis killed himself. And she's like, well, what's stopping me from killing herself? It's almost like his death, in a way gives her permission to kind of let go and do that. And I just I think the Nat relationship, self, internal, external, there's just a lot of dynamics there, and I think both Sophie and Juliette brought so much to both of those characters who are so different in each timeline, but yet so the same. So it's very interesting. And my other Nat thing was just what was she right about, and was the she Nat? I don't know. We don't have any answers to that. But that's like my biggest burning Natalie question is the note, I think.
Yeah.
Like, what was she right about? It all kind of comes back to that. I say I don't know a lot because I don't know. We don't know.
Right.
We hope to know, more in season 2. But I think Nat's one of the more complex characters, and it'll be interesting to peel more away at her mental state in season 2. As you mentioned, she will be very vulnerable. What are they going to do with her? Are they going to torture her, sacrifice her? Does she have information they might want? What kind of information? Are they using her in some ploy to, ramp up Thaisa's presidential campaign eventually, which I keep going back to?
To go back to when Kevin takes Natalie to his son's soccer game.
I wanted to go back to that too. That's so funny.
Sorry, I just blasted through all my things.
No. I felt like that scene was really important too, because you can see the genuine joy that she has in her face when she's watching. It's almost like she forgot who she was for a second.
Yeah.
She was allowing herself to just truly be happy in that moment. And then it's like a switch goes off and this look comes into her eyes, and she removes herself from the situation, and she says something to Kevin, keep him away from the crazy lady or something like that, about herself being at the game. I just felt like it made me feel so bad for her, because it's you can tell she's just so unhappy in general with everything in her life. And for her to live outside of herself for that moment and feel something other than being depressed and sad, and feel genuine happiness, it's almost like she doesn't think she deserves to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And do we think that in season 4 or 5 maybe Nat and Kevin get together? I mean, is that going to be a happy ending for her eventually? I mean, I know we're far off from happy endings, but that would be the ultimate happy ending for me, for Nat, is her and Kevin ending up together. She's got a stepson that plays soccer, and again, bringing it back to that soccer connection. Maybe that's something she's missing that could actually help her. So I don't know. My long-term theory, I do hope that her and Kevin end up together.
Me too.
Endgame. Since Travis is gone, I would have said Travis, but he's gone.
I gotta say, I actually cried when they were at the game and Kevin found her after she had gone over, and and she said that line, and he's like, I don't think you're crazy. I think you've been through a lot, and that's okay. I cried.
How supportive and nice. He's so nice to her. The nice guy. That's why she should end up with the nice guy, because she does deserve it, even if she does not think so.
Yeah. And it's what I actually had wanted to go back to, and it's so funny because we both wanted to talk about we both wanted to go back to the exact same moment. When she gave his son that advice and he scored, and she was so excited about it, and she later says, that never worked for me, never worked when I did it. But it's another thing, it kind of speaks to her lack of confidence in herself, I'm going to tell this kid to do it and it's going to work because he's him, and it didn't work when I did it, but this kid's a better kid than I was, So
I've seen some speculation on Reddit that once they realize that Natalie is missing, that Misty and Kevin will get together and they will try to get to the bottom of what happened to Natalie. They're going to work together.
It makes sense. They're both detectives, right?
Yeah.
Citizen detectives, if we're talking about Misty.
I would love to see that interaction too between Kevin and Misty. I feel like that would be really good too.
Very interesting.
What's up?
It was a very interesting dynamic between the two of those people.
She'll stare at his shapely legs.
I know. She's just going to be leering at his calves the whole time.
Knuckles. Was that another one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's going to get him on an escalator and a pair of shorts, and it's going to be all over.
Oh man, that was a good one.
Just one little note on Misty and the calves. Like, do you think she got into the calves because like Coach Ben was like missing his leg? I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that's just it. She was so into him, and he didn't even have like one calf. So I don't know. I just think it's ironic. It's a leg part that she's very into. But
that's so true.
Yeah. Who knows, man?
Anyway.
Maybe she, maybe when she chopped his leg off, it wasn't as much about saving his life as it was about she was hoping to go back for it. People.
Oh my God. Must have that calf.
She wanted to go take it home and put it in her freezer.
Oh my God.
Oh God. I can see that happening.
Oh, and when I was just talking relationships, I didn't even mention, her and Coach Ben's relationship, Nat and Coach Ben. Like, I think that they forged a very, tight-knit relationship out there, which, brings us to also maybe, Nat is upset with Shauna because she ends up, killing Coach Ben. I don't know. Or one of them ends up killing Coach Ben. He's probably the first one to go. I mean, if we're being honest here, right?
I was going to say Misty killed him, and that is why Natalie has so much animosity towards Misty.
That's what I think too. It's because it showed, they made a point to show them kind of bonding and getting close. And I don't know that they really did that with anybody else. Well, I mean, Shauna and Taissa, they showed them getting closer in the woods. But yeah, they made a point to show Natalie and Ben bonding in the woods. And I think that they'll continue to get closer. And I think that Misty ends up killing him, maybe because she gets jealous of.
I could see that.
Yep.
Yeah. Because we saw how she responded when she just saw Ben sitting out there talking to Taissa. And
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. And, and speaking to her in a very he was laughing and smiling and, he wasn't that way with Misty. And I think Misty could possibly get jealous and end up killing him. And that's ultimately why Natalie comes to hunt her down.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Ooh, I'm echoing now. I hear it. Interesting. I was detecting a little echo. It happens. Whatever.
I hear nothing. It's all good.
Okay. I guess I'm just hearing things. Weird. Yeah. Anyway, Emily, would you like to maybe read a couple more of the important Natalie quotes about her and from her? And maybe we could wrap up with some of those, just a little more Natalie context.
I'm sorry, I just missed what you said.
Oh, no big deal. Do you want to read a couple of those Natalie quotes?
Oh, sure. So we read a couple of them already, but I have a couple other good ones. Let's see. We talked about this a little bit already, but this is a conversation between Natalie, Shauna, and Taissa. And Natalie says to Shauna, well, you look like shit. And Shauna says, well, back at you. Natalie says, how's Jeff still hawking futons? And that's when Taissa says, okay, no, we're not going to do this. Okay, not after all the shit we've been through. Now we got a situation here and we're going to deal with this together. And this, like we've said before, this is the first time that we're seeing adult Shauna and adult Natalie connect. And there is just something going on between them that's just causing this tension that we have yet, we don't know why yet. Here's another good one. You guys don't know Travis like I do. He wouldn't kill himself. Do you understand that? And I know you think I'm crazy, but you know what I see? You guys are just as fucked up as I am. You're not healthy. You're not stable. You're living on the brink just like me. And that's when Natalie says that to Taissa and Shauna right after they failed to unmask the blackmailer, Jeff. And I thought that was really interesting too, because she's right. Neither one of them are as healthy as her. It's just more obvious with Natalie because her issues are on display through her addiction issues and her problem with substance abuse. Whereas the other two, they don't have any issues like that. Theirs is more internal. and you don't see it as visibly as you see Natalie's problems.
And they have support systems, like Shauna's got a husband and a daughter, even if, that whole family dynamic is a little strange. Thaisa's got, a son and a wife, and, Nat doesn't have anyone. And they talk a little bit of, Shauna and Thaisa talk a little bit about that when Nat's not in the car, that she just doesn't have anybody. So, like you just said, it is on display. There's not anybody else around her to kind of absorb, this stuff. So,
Thaisa even says, like, who does Natalie have? Like, she had Travis, and now she has nothing. Like, now she has less, so she has nothing.
Yeah.
And she's treating really Kevin Tan like shit, which totally sucks, because he's like trying so hard to, be that friend for her. And
that made me so sad when she was so mean to him, like, in order to get him to leave. Like, it's like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, he doesn't know that. And they've known each other for so long. Like, that alone, like, has to hurt when you've known somebody that long and they're treating you that way.
I mean, she's icing him out, she's just not giving him the respect he deserves. But knowing nice guys, they don't give up. So he's probably going to be running his own little investigation, especially once he finds out she's missing. Maybe Kevin Tan will save the day. Maybe he'll rescue Nat. Maybe they will be endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she was smelling his pillow.
I know.
Right?
I know.
I mean, she clearly, like, she clearly has feelings for him, but she just.
A part of me wonders if she never messed with his gun and he never got upset with her, would she have still done what she did and pushed him away? Because it all stemmed from that. Like, he noticed that his gun case had been messed with, and he checked to see if there was a bullet missing, and there was. And then he starts, like, interrogating Natalie, like, asking her, like, did you commit a crime? And you can tell she was really offended by that, but she wasn't thinking clearly when she took his gun in the first place. Like, you don't take a law enforcement officer's weapon and use it. Like, so it just made me feel so bad, like, that whole entire interaction between them. Like, because that Natalie doesn't want to push him away, but yet she feels like she has to.
Yeah. And it might not even be like she feels like she's not good enough for him or anything. It might be more of, she knows that more bad stuff is coming up and she needs to protect him and not get him involved in this stuff.
Yeah. She wants to insulate him from all the trouble that she's clearly involved in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, if she hadn't taken his gun, I think there's a good possibility that she wouldn't have pushed him away, but I think that something else would have happened.
Yeah.
That would have caused that. Like, perhaps his presence could have kept her sober and not doing drugs. So maybe it wouldn't have been something like that, but the cult would have seeped in somehow and gotten involved, and she would end up doing something to push him away to protect him.
Yes. Yeah, or imagine if she took a whole different route and was honest with him about what was going on. Like, I don't think that ever would have happened, but that's something we didn't consider. Like, it's kind of too bad she didn't trust him enough to be honest, because he could help, right? Although it is like blackmail and whatever, and that would have caused some problems for Jeff and Shauna.
Right.
But I think that he will be helping moving forward.
Yeah. It's I definitely expect him to be involved in season 2. I mean, I hope he is.
I don't think we've seen the last of Kevin Tan.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I think he's going to play an important part. I mean, they start with their relationship in high school. They continue it in the adult timeline. I think it's something that they're only going to continue building on.
I agree.
Yeah. I went on the Yellowjackets on Showtime discussion group on Facebook and just asked if anybody had any comments or questions about Natalie. And everybody was pretty much, thinking about the same thing. Like, what did she do to get them out of there that Tice is crediting her for? What was the deal with the note? Natalie Knott left an interesting take on that. I think it's pretty established that she played a big role in keeping the girls alive. What I want to know is, if the girls split into 2 factions, Lottie's group and the others, would she have had to use those skills from hunting to protect her group, perhaps leading to further trauma? And given that she's the voice of reason, like when they tried to freeze out the soccer player, did she try and reason with Lottie's group, or was it ever compromised? So yeah, that's interesting. Like, I wonder all of the different aspects of Natalie's character. It's going to be interesting to see how those come into play when dealing with the other faction that she's clearly not going to be a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually had a quote that kind of relates to what you're saying. Taissa says this to Shauna: "We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. So I do what I can, not just for her, for me." So again, that's reiterating, like, she very clearly does something that's very significant in the survival of those girls out there that I feel like has to be more than her just being the hunter. That's obviously very important. That's a big role to put on your own shoulders, but I feel like there has to be more significance to it than just that. Something else has to happen.
I think it's interesting that Shauna's choice of wording when she said, "Don't drag us into your endless pit of guilt."
Yeah.
She used the word pit.
Yeah. I never even picked up on that before.
Kelly.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So I think that, I think that could have, I think that might have been done on purpose.
I would say so, given the way that they use the word spill and, a lot of other intentional things they do that we're always talking about.
Yeah.
She also says in Rehab a line about keeping the tiger in the cage.
Yes.
And that pit that you see.
Tiger trap.
Yeah.
Tiger trap.
It's literally a tiger trap. Like, that is what it is. So I feel like that has to be connected.
I never thought about that tiger line and the tiger trap thing together. That's something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm so intrigued. Like, what they did to what Thais is referring to as far as what she did to get them out of there. I mean, could it be as simple as she's the one who decided to start hunting each other? I mean, or could it be that she trapped Lottie in this pit, but didn't kill her, and they were rescued, and they purposely left her behind. So that's
Shauna says something in the first episode to Jessica Roberts that really makes me wonder how they were rescued, period, because she says, "After they found us." Like, that to me, like, means exactly how it sounds. Like, they no longer go on any expeditions to look for help on their own anymore after what happened to Van and Laura Lee. Like, they are done trying on their own. Like, they are solely trying to survive. So someone has to stumble upon them somehow. And that's how they're rescued. Like I said earlier, maybe it's the possibility that the cabin gets set on fire and they see the fire and that signals to somebody for help.
I'm surprised they didn't think of a signal fire sooner.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know. We don't know how far out in the wilderness they are, but that does seem like a pretty natural thing. Although I guess you also don't want to, like, burn the woods down.
Yeah,
so.
Right.
Yeah.
Fine line between signal fire and mass destruction of wilderness.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, definitely. That could lead to some problems for sure. God, oh man, there's just so much to think about. It makes me want to go. I want to go back and watch all of the episodes and pay attention to the language used.
Yeah, it's so significant.
Yeah, I mean, spill was obviously very, very deliberate. And I do think the word pit was put there deliberately. But there's got to be some other stuff too. I bet there's more clues in the dialogue that nobody's picked up on yet.
Easter eggs everywhere, for sure. And I know, Emily, thank you. You've been pulling some important dialogue and putting it into one of our Google Docs, which we're going to be using for some content, and we're going to start highlighting that more. So we'll try to, use our best citizen detective-y skills and extract whatever meaning we can. And, we love all of your help. So if you're watching, feel free to comment with, different words or phrases or things that we haven't touched upon yet, because the best thing about Yellowjackets is there is so much possibility with so many different things, and it's amazing, what people pick up on different things, the same things. I mean, we each pick up on different things like every time we do this. So I mean, and I think I've watched like 4 times at least now.
Same.
So there are just not many shows that can do that. And
no,
every
time I watch, I pick up on a new detail that I never noticed before. Like you said, I feel like there's Easter eggs everywhere in this show as to what happened.
Oh my goodness.
And it's God, again, just going back to the dialogue, there's just so many moments I'm thinking of, just like Misty's Play-Doh quote.
I love that one.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it involved the wilderness, I mean, there's just so much deliberate little Easter egg dialogue pieces that are just,
and props, in thinking about like the VHSs and Misty's basement and, some other little things scattered throughout. So I just, between the words, the on-screen stuff, the props, it's just a masterpiece. And that is why they are up for 7 Emmys. Which, I hope, I mean, the competition is very stiff this year, but I think we've got a shot.
A good portion of Natalie as an adult that we see as well is her just spending time in this hotel room. And that speaks volumes to Juliette Lewis and her performance, because we were still like drawn in and so invested, even though she's literally laying around a hotel room for a good portion of the season. Yet we still want to know like what is going on. Such a good performance.
Yep, absolutely. She's like the most talented. I mean, they're all very talented, but just her methodology and becoming Nat, I think is quite an evolution. And again, Sophie Thatcher. I mean, you could not have cast a better person for teen Nat. I just think that they make such a good pair. I mean, they're both just absolutely incredible. And imagine Sophie Thatcher, like being a young actress, being able to emulate Juliette Lewis in the same role. Like that's a really big deal for her too.
Absolutely.
That's so
incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah. What an experience. Well, I feel like we dove pretty deep into Nat. We discussed everything from her traumas to her relationships to her dialogue. And if you're watching or listening, share with us your thoughts on Nat. What did we miss? What else is important? She's again one of our favorite characters. I mean, they're all kind of our favorite characters, but next time we will do our next episode will be something different, but we will be doing more of these character deep dives. I don't think we've decided who we are going to do next. Should we decide now?
Randy Walsh. No.
Speaking of Randy Walsh, I love that he actually commented on our Instagram post this week.
Yeah.
And Melanie Linsky replied. And I'm just like, I love that the cast is commenting on our Instagram post. I think that's so cool.
It's so great to see.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Jeff Holman's been liking and sharing a lot of our stuff. So we appreciate that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like a cool guy.
Absolutely. So what do you think for our next character deep dive?
I was gonna say Misty.
Yeah.
Misty? Okay.
Yeah, I think Misty.
I did a poll and people are most curious about her as to a deep dive.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's do it. That'll be our next deep dive. But we'll do another episode or a mini or something before our next deep dive. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. Sure. Stay tuned for our Patreon, which will be launching soon. We've got some new exclusive merch coming, which is very exciting. Again, welcome to Emily, our third Antler Queen co-host. Thank you again for joining us. We're so happy to have you. And with that, I think we're ready for our sign off.
Buzz off.
Buzz off.
Buzz off. Antler Queen's out. Thanks, everybody.